Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of our Enamoured series. As you can see, we are here with Amina, and she is just getting a little bit of chatting done on the computer. She is just wanting to talk a little bit to some people. She is feeling really focused right now because she is really got her mind on her man, and she's thinking about her future, and she is really feeling excited about that. She is thinking that she is wanting to ask him if he wants to move in with her. She doesn't necessarily think that they're going to stay here, but she does want him to go ahead and move in with her until they decide that they want to go ahead and, plan the wedding event and get married. She does think they should go ahead and start living together at the very least and see how that is. And then obviously they will go ahead and get married. She thinks obviously that time is of the essence. They aren't getting any younger. And she wants them to go ahead, start living together, and then they can move their relationship forward, start planning their wedding, and start trying for a baby, and those kinds of things. So she is thinking about going ahead and asking him out on another date so that they can discuss these things. So she's feeling really focused and trying to come up with, a conversation piece on what she's going to say to him, because she kind of feels like this relationship, she's been really, really forward. And in most of her relationships, she's not really been the person that's kind of been the driving force in the relationship. In most of her relationships, she's kind of just been, the party that's just kind of been like, okay, whatever, let's just let you lead, or whatever the case is. But in this relationship, she kind of feels like she keeps leading the direction, and she keeps, she proposed and she asked him to be her boyfriend, and she's done all of those kind of big steps with this relationship. And she doesn't want to be too forward, but at the same time, she's just like, I definitely feel something as far as, in the direction of being real serious with him, and I just want to move it forward. I don't want to wait. I am serious about this, and this is just how I feel. And so she's like, I'm not going to stunt how I feel. I'm going to follow my heart in this matter. So she's feeling like she is needing to do that. She's feeling really confident about it, and she's like, I know that this is the right thing to do, so I'm just going to do it. So she does have work today. She does have to do that. So she's just kind of getting ready for work here. She's brushed her teeth and she's taken herself a bath. And I'm going to have her come in here and just go ahead and make a little bit of a snack so she can have something to eat here. And then she's going to head off to work. And then after she gets off work, she's probably going to go ahead and call him up. And then we will go ahead and invite him to come on round, and we'll go out on that date. But for the meantime, obviously, she has to be an adult, and she has to get herself off to her job, because that is top priority, as we well know. So we will definitely be seeing him in a little bit, but we do have to do our work tasks first. So we do have to work in an hour's time, and so I am going to have literally just enough time to get her to get something to eat here, and then she will have to head off to work. So she's just going to make some baked pumpkin slices and have a little bit of a snack on that, and then she will be able to head herself off and have another shift here at the hospital. And she's thinking, well, it's supposed to be a good day. I don't think that we're going to have anything crazy going on. As far as, with babies, today should be a really good day. So she's feeling like things will go well at work today, and she shouldn't have too hectic of a day. And if she doesn't have too hectic of a day, then she should be not too worn out, and she should have enough energy for a date later on. Because she is definitely wanting to go on one more date for her aspiration, and so we definitely want to do that for her. So she's going to go ahead and have herself a plate of these baked pumpkin slices, and we will go ahead and let her have that. That way her hunger will be all the way up so that she can do a perfect set of needs when she goes into work today. So that will be great. So she's just going to go ahead, finish this up here, and then she's going to head into work. And then I will see you guys when she gets back from her shift. All right, so she is just heading off to work now, and I will see you guys when she returns from her shift. All right, so she has gotten home from her shift. She's feeling really focused. She is kind of tired, but we are just still going to go ahead. We are going to call Micah and see if he is ready for a date, because she is wanting to go ahead and go on a date. You can see she's feeling really focused about this. She's like, okay, I know what I want to say. I know what I want to do. I'm just going to go. I'm going to ask him if he wants to go on a date. I'm going to ask him if he wants to just go to the lounge here in Oasis Springs. So she's asked him out here to this rattlesnake bar here in Oasis Springs. They're just going to sit down and they're going to have a couple of, maybe have a drink and have a little bit of a conversation here. And she is just going to tell him how she feels. So I'm going to have her come over here and serve some drinks, and then they can sit down, hopefully, and have a little bit of a conversation. And, they can talk about how she's feeling, because she really wants to tell him that, she is feeling like, they are really progressing well. And even though they're progressing really well in their relationship, she just feels like they would be better off if they spent a little bit more time together in one roof. And she just feels like they would get to know one another better if they lived under one roof. They would obviously be able to, try for a baby better if they were living under one roof. And she feels like their life would be able to progress a little bit better. So she's going to tell him, you look lovely tonight. And he's going to say, you do too. How was your day? And she's going to say, it was fine, but I didn't really bring you here to talk about work. And he's like, oh, what did you bring me here to talk about? And she's like, honestly, I brought you here to just tell you that I really like the direction that our relationship's going. And I'm really, really excited about the fact that we're going to be getting married soon. And he's like, so am I. And she's like, but I was thinking that, things would be a lot easier if we were maybe, seeing each other every day. And he's like, oh, and she's like, yeah, I think that, if we were seeing each other every single day, our relationship obviously would be able to get a little bit stronger. I think that we would be able to, spend more quality time together, and we could do things like, try for a baby and things like that. And he's like, oh, and she's like, I know that we both want children. And he's like, we do. And she's like, I don't know if you're wanting to try right away, but I definitely do want to try for a baby. And, oh, it said she likes flirting. Okay, we love that. And she's like, excuse me while I go to the washroom just really quickly. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So she's just going to go in there and she's going to go to the washroom, and she's going to think about, okay, how do I tell him what I'm trying to tell him? Like, I feel like I'm stumbling over my words. And so she's just going to, come out here, and she's going to try to flirt with him a little bit, and offer him a little bit of a massage, and just say, you seem really tense. I'm not trying to make you tense or anything like that. What I'm trying to say really is just I love spending time with you, but I obviously want to spend all of my time with you. And he's like, all of your time with me? And she's like, I'm not saying I need to be with you 24/7, every breathing, waking moment with you. I mean, obviously we have our lives separate to one another. And I know you have your writing that you need to do, and I have a job and things like that. But I'm just feeling like maybe we should live together. And he's like, oh, and she's like, I just think if we lived under one roof, we would see each other every day. We would have meals together. We would be able to conversate every day. It wouldn't be something where it's just oh, I'm talking to you on the phone, but I don't get to actually see you. And I just feel like our relationship would grow closer. And obviously we're both trying for a baby, or we're wanting to try for a baby. And I think that would be easier for us to do if we were actually living under one roof. And I know that you didn't say necessarily that you were tied to that house. And I was wondering if maybe you might want to move in with me at my house, because I'm not necessarily tied to my house either. And I know that our house, my house, your house, our houses aren't somewhere that we might want to stay long term, and we could potentially decide to move down the road. But I figure for now, I have a nursery. If I were to get pregnant, it's already all set up. And he's like, it is. And she's like, so I just figure it's a good setup for now. I just thought maybe you might want to consider thinking about it. And he's like starts serenading her, and he's like, I could think about moving in with you, and I think that all of your points that you're making are really valid points, and I definitely want to start, trying for a baby with you. He's like, I definitely want that, and I, am serious about us being together. It's why, I agreed to your proposal, and it's why I said that I wanted to marry you. So I'm definitely serious about this. So I could definitely, think on your wanting us to move in together if you'll give me just a little bit of time to think about it. And she's like, how much time do you need to think about it? And he's like, I'm not saying that I need a whole lot of time to think about it. I just want to think about it a little bit. And she's like, okay. And so she jumps in his arms, and she's like, that's great. I'm so glad that you are going to consider it. And he's like, well, of course I was going to consider it. Did you actually think I wouldn't consider it? Like, I'm planning to spend the rest of my life with you, and you think that I wouldn't consider, like, moving into your place with you? And she's like, I don't know. I just didn't know if maybe you were tied to your place. And he's like, I'm not tied anywhere. I told you, I can write from anywhere. And she's like, okay, well, that's good news anyway, because I was really, I thought this was a good conversation for us to have, but I was kind of nervous maybe that you might think I'm being a little too forward. He's like, if there's one thing I know about you, Amina, it's that you are forward. When it's something you want, you go for it. And I've learned that a long time ago, that this relationship is definitely something you want. And she's like, you know what? You're right. I do go for things that I want. And this is something that I want. So you're absolutely right. So she loves that he understands her the way that he does, and she's absolutely thrilled with the fact that he's planning to consider this for her. And she's like, I'll give you all the time that you need. I obviously would like for us to move in together sooner rather than later, but I'm not going to push the matter if you don't want me to. And I just am really hoping that you'll give it some serious thought. And so she starts like loving on him, and they're like giving each other kisses and things like that. This date is, going really well. And he's like, so tell me now that we've discussed all of that, how was your day? And she's like, oh, my day was great. She's like, everything went really well. We had some babies that were born and some mothers that we took care of, and everything seemed to go off without a hitch. She was like, it wasn't really that hectic of a day, but I am starting to, get a little bit tired because, it was a long shift. And now I'm out, out here because I just really wanted to talk to you about all of that, because I woke up this morning and I was thinking about it, and it's been on my mind all day long. And he's like, are you serious? And she's like, I am. She's like, but you know how I get whenever I get my head in a space where I just like, I get so focused on something, and I must talk about it. And I just had to have this conversation with you. And he's like, I understand. And so she said, well, I woke up this morning and I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, Amina, we have to talk to Micah about this. And she was like, so I thought about it all day, and it's just something that I really needed to talk to you about. And I'm so glad that even though I had a long shift and I'm kind of feeling tired, I'm really glad that we came out, and I'm really glad that I got to see you and we got to spend some time together, and that you're, open to this discussion, and that you're able to hear what I have to say. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I almost fell asleep there. And he's like, honey, you're so tired. And she's like, I know I am. And he's like, you know what I think would make you feel really good? And she's like, what's that? And he's like, you going home and going to bed. And she's like, oh, do you know what would make me feel really even better than that? And he's like, what is that? Tell me, my love. I'll do anything to make you better. And she's like, well, I don't know. I just feel like you're probably right. I probably do need a lot of rest. I probably need to get something to eat. And he's like, okay, well, you should probably go home and get yourself some food, and then get yourself some rest, and then I think you'll feel much better. And she's like, okay, you're probably right. And he's like, I had a wonderful evening with you. I really did. I'm really glad that you're able to talk to me about these things when they bother you and when they're on your mind. And just know that you can always come to me. You can always talk to me about anything. And she's like, of course I know that. So he's I don't know why he's walked away. But anyway, their date is coming to a close here. And we are going to just have her obviously give him, they got a perfect date again, which is fantastic. She's going to just give him a little bit of a hug goodbye. And she's just going to tell him, I am going to go ahead and go home, and I'm going to go get something to eat and go to bed. But anyway, do you know what would make things so much better? And he's like, what's that? And she's like, I think it would be so much better if I had you to go home to, like to go home to and to wake up to in the morning. And he's like, I know, that would make my life so much better too. And he's like, do you know what would make it so much better was if I did do that? And she's like, what do you mean? He's like, I think I do want to come home with you. And she's like, really? And he's like, will you have me? And she's like, yeah. So they decided that they are going to go ahead and move in together. And she's like, I thought you needed to think about it. And he's like, well, I did think about it. And she's like, I thought you meant like you needed like days to think about it. And he was like, I didn't give you a time frame of when I needed to think about it. So they're going to go ahead and head on home. And they are going to get some rest. She's going to get something to eat and get some rest. He is feeling fantastic. You can't even tell he's got anything wrong with him. He's got perfect needs. So she's going to go in the house here, and as you can see, they are feeling really good. I just want to see how he feels about her. And his sentiments about her is that he's deeply connected, and it says that he has friendly advice, and he is close to her from moving in. So that's great. And they are best friends. Okay, we love that. Oh my God, that's so sweet. But I'm going to have her come on inside the house here. We're going to get her something to eat, and then we're going to let her go off to bed. And Micah is just in there watching a little bit of television, but then I'm going to have him go on to bed as well because it is starting to get really late, and so he will need to obviously get to bed soon as well. But I am going to have him just do a little bit of stuff for his, for like work. So I'll get him to get on the computer and do a little bit of job training, and that way he can get some job training stuff in. And then tomorrow he's going to start working on a book. Obviously, while Amina goes to work, he'll work on a book. And in the meantime, he's just going to work on a little bit of job training stuff. But she is like so exhausted. She's like, okay, I'm going to finish this meal. I'm literally having to force it down. I'm so tired. So she's going to eat this meal really quickly, and then she's going to head off to bed. And Micah's just going to do a little bit of this work on the computer here, and then he'll head off to bed as well. She is so ecstatic that he decided to go ahead and move in with her. And it's made her feel really, really confident because she's like, not only did I go to him with my problems, but he listened and he heard me, and he delivered. And she's like, he is literally the perfect man for me. And he's feeling super flirty, which is fantastic. So she's feeling like, he is literally perfect for her because he tries so hard to meet her at her needs, and he tries to give her what she needs. And, if he can't always meet her needs, because there are going to be times where he's not going to be able to give her what she wants, and he's not going to be able to meet her needs. He is, going to be able to just explain to her why he can't. And, he's going to tell her, I maybe can't meet every need that you have, or every want that you have, but I am here, and I do hear you. I hear what you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. So he's just getting these skills up on the computer here, which we absolutely love, but he's going to go to bed. It is now the next morning, and he has gotten up, and he is going to the washroom here. She has woken up desperate for some fun here. She's feeling kind of tense because she's kind of needing a little bit of fun. So I think what I'm going to do is get them to have a little bit of fun, if you know what I mean. And so we'll get them to have a little bit of a woohoo, because she does have a whim here that she wants to woohoo with Micah. So we will have them do a little bit of a woohoo, because as we know, both of them are wanting to try for a baby anyway. And so it would be good for them to go ahead and just have a little bit of a woohoo. I'm not going to have them like try for a pregnancy. I'm just going to have them woohoo. And if something happens, great. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too. But we are just going to go ahead and let them have a little bit of a woohoo. She's tense from her high maintenance trait. So I can't help that. But it is what it is. They're going to just have themselves a little bit of food here. And then I'm going to let her go ahead and approach him and just be like, you know what? I'm stressed this morning, and I think that something that would really, really help me out would be if you and I could have a little bit of quality time together. And he'll be like, I can totally help you out with that. So they are going to just spend a little bit of time together here this morning, having a little bit of fun and a little bit of adult time together, and we love that for them. So she's just come out here, and she's going to tell him, you know, I'm feeling really tense, and I just feel like maybe we could have a little bit of special time together. And he's like, yeah, we can totally do that. You don't have to ask me twice. And so they're going to go in there, and they're going to have a little bit of a woohoo, which we love for them. And we'll just give them a little bit of privacy there. And then obviously I am going to get him working on a book because she has to go to work in an hour. So she'll go to work and he will work on a book. It is Night on the Town. I am probably not going to let them participate in Night on a Town since they went out last night. We probably won't go out again tonight. Just because they'll need to stay in because she has to work. So she's going to be tired. And he needs to work on writing, and so he really needs to get those creative juices flowing. So I seriously think that we probably won't do the Night on the Town. They're probably going to be really upset about that, but it is what it is, and sometimes you just don't get to do what you want to do. So there's that. So she's just come out here. I'm going to have her deal with the plants a little bit and then go to the washroom, and then she's going to head off to work. And I'm going to get him cleaning up a little bit, and then I'm going to get him to go ahead and start writing a book. He needs to get in here and start doing that. And Amina is getting close to having a birthday, so she does have a birthday coming up soon. So that's what I kind of mean by they are, you know, getting to a place where she's like, I have a biological clock. It's ticking. Like, we need to get on this. And so she's like, I need a baby. If we're going to start like trying, we need to start trying for a baby. Like, I'm not getting any younger. So he has started writing the book, Goodnight Nightlight. And we have him just working away here while she is off to work. And he is going to go ahead and just, you know, let his creative juices flow here, which is fantastic. And hopefully he can pump this book out and we can go ahead and get him to get that published. He is really hoping that he's going to be able to make a name for himself and he's going to get noticed out in the world there. And I'm hoping that he does really, really well. Obviously, as an author, he is, you know, he's struggling a little bit. He realizes that it takes time for them, you know, to pick up his work and for him to get noticed and for him to get popular. And, you know, he's just starting out. You know, he's written a couple of things, but he's not gotten himself published yet. And he's really hoping that he can get to a place where people will start to recognize his work. And, oh my goodness, we have to repair that. So once he's done with this book, I'm going to have him go in there and repair that sink. And then he'll need to get himself something to eat. But he knows that he has to, you know, work really, really hard to get his name out there and to get people to start, you know, recognizing him as a distinguished author. And he's like, I really have to work hard. I'm trying to get him to self-publish this book, and for whatever reason, it's not working. So we can't even publish this one, which is a pain. So I guess we'll just hold on to that one, and he'll just be able to read it to their future child. All right, so he's currently fixing the plumbing in the house, and then he's going to go ahead and grab himself a little bit to eat here, and we love that for him. So Amina is still currently at work. She is working away really, really hard, and we are hoping that she's having herself a great day. He is hoping that she's doing really, really well. He is missing her, but he knows that she has a really important job and that she loves to help people. And he is thinking that he is really, really proud of her for her career. And he's like, oh my gosh, an earthquake. And he's like, oh, she didn't tell me about that. When I moved in here, we are not going to stay here long. because that terrified him. And he's like, no, we definitely are not raising a baby in this. So he's like, we are definitely going to be moving, and we are going to be moving soon. So while he's been sitting here and he's pondering all of this stuff, he's been thinking about the wedding, and he's been thinking about how he wants to surprise her. And he heard that there is a festival coming up, and he heard that it's a romance festival. And he was like, oh my gosh, there is, I think, an option where you can actually marry at this festival. And he's like, I think maybe we should definitely do that. We could totally get married at this festival, and it will be so romantic because it'll be all decorated for romance, and it'll be so beautiful. And she and I can go ahead and we can go there and we can get married under all of the decorations and all of the lights, and it'll be so beautiful. And, I know that she probably would want her family to be at her wedding, but he's like, I don't know anybody, and I just really want us to have our lives begin. And even though she probably would want her family to be at her wedding, you have to remember that her father is very adamant against Micah being a part of her life. And he does not want her to be with Micah. And so the idea of her having this beautiful wedding and her father walking her down the aisle is not going to happen. Like, he is not going to do that for her because he doesn't want her to be with Micah, and he doesn't approve. And so even if she did invite her parents to the wedding, the odds are is that her father is not going to want to show up, which means that her wonderful day is going to be ruined. And so I think that Amina probably would be okay with eloping. But he doesn't necessarily want to elope. He doesn't want to get married in their living room. So he thought, you know what, this festival is a perfect idea because at the very least, it's a beautiful setting. And it would be a beautiful setting set up for my beautiful bride. And he's like, I think it would be beautiful for her, and it would be special for her. And it may not be the perfect wedding that she's thought of for her whole life, like every little girl dreams of, but at least it's something. And so he's, thinking that he's going to surprise her and take her to the romance festival, and they can get married there. So he's wanting to do that, and that happens tomorrow. So he's going to surprise her with that. So he may not be taking her out for the night on the town, which is fine. I mean, she's feeling a little bit angry right now. He's going to come out and he's going to greet her, and he's like, oh, hi, honey, welcome home. How was your day? And she's like, ugh, it was such a hard day. Today was not at all a great day. And he's like, I know something that'll make you feel better. And she's like, really, what? And he's like, me. So they're going to go in and they're going to go try for another baby, or try for a baby this time. So he's like, let's go try for a baby. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah. So they're going to go in, they're going to go try for a baby. And he's like, I just think it's time. So that is fantastic. He clearly wants to go ahead and try for a baby. And so they're doing that. And he, is just really excited about all of the thoughts that he's had about her today. He's had these thoughts about trying for a baby with her. He's had these thoughts about getting married to her and surprising her with this wedding. And he's just like, things are going to be so great for Amina and I. And it's really put him in this great mood and this great place mentally. And I love that for them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get Amina up and we're going to take her into the bathroom, and we're just going to have her go and take herself a pregnancy test. And she's like, I wonder if that worked. So we're going to have her take a bath, and then she'll have a pregnancy test, and we'll see if that worked. Or in great Sims fashion, they'll just completely ignore what I said and do what they want. So it looks like she's queued up to go cook something. So she's going to go cook something after her bath. So we will try for a pregnancy test later and see if she's pregnant. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get Micah up so that he can go ahead and go to the washroom because he does need to go to the washroom. So we'll let him do that. And then he is, other than that, really doing really well as far as his needs go. So he is doing pretty fantastic. I am going to have him come in here and go ahead and do a baby mobile because, as we know, he is kind of in baby fever. He's been having some errant thoughts that he wants a baby. And So I think he would definitely want to, you know, make a baby mobile and do all of these kind of things. And it says that Amina has a new personality trait of cheerful because she's been happy lately, or, you know, more cheerful lately. And I think that's amazing. So she's going to go on in here and do a little bit of cooking, which is fantastic. She's just making a little bit of baked salmon for supper. That way she can feed her family, and we love that. I say family, they're not married, but you know what I mean. They're a little family. They're super cute. And so she is just cooking them a little bit of baked salmon, and she has leveled up in her baking skill, which is fantastic. So there, that is done, and now we are going in here. Now she's taking her pregnancy test. Okay, great. It says she is not pregnant. Maybe next time. All right, Amina, we will have to try again. So she's going to call everyone to a meal. So we'll go ahead. We'll get them in here to grab something to eat. And then she's like, oh, I better clean the toilet. So I'm going to have her go clean that up. And then will you please eat this meal, because I really do want you to eat something. So I'm just going to have her go and eat this baked salmon. I have had a little bit of struggles with my Sims eating in game. I don't know if there's something going on with my mods, but for whatever reason, they're having a little bit of trouble eating, and I'm having to really, really stay on top of them for eating. Like, they're not wanting to do it for whatever reason. I don't know what the deal is with that, but yeah. So I will make sure they eat, because yeah, they're just picking up their plates and then laying them down, and they don't actually eat anything. So I hate that for them, but we will make sure that they eat something and that they don't go hungry, and then we will continue on. So it is starting to get a little bit late in the evening, so after they eat, we're going to go ahead and let them get into bed for the evening, and then for tomorrow, we will see what is on their agenda, but for tonight, obviously, their agenda is sleeping. I don't think that Amina has work tomorrow. She may, though. I really am not sure. We'll just have to see. I think tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so I think she's probably going to be off because it is a holiday. So not only is he planning to marry her on the romance festival, which is super romantic, but it's also a holiday. So he's going to marry her on New Year's Eve. So it's really, really romantic. But we're going to let them finish eating here, and she's just talking to him about the supper, and she's like, do you like your fish? And he's like, yeah, it's good. And she's like, I tried some new recipe, and I didn't know if it was going to be any good. He's like, it's really, really good, actually. And he's like, look, I cleared my plate completely. And she's like, wow, you really did. And he's like, yeah, I told you it was really good. She's like, I'm really glad you liked it. He's like, of course, I could really get used to this. You are an amazing cook. He's like, don't get me all plumped up. And she's like, that's what jogs are for, honey. You have to go out and exercise. So they're going to go ahead and head off to bed here, and I will see you in the morning. So it is the next morning. As you can see, they are just taking care of a little bit of their needs, and they are upset about missing a night on the town, which we knew would happen, but that is what it is. Today is New Year's Eve, and they are going to be celebrating that. So we will have them just do a little bit of celebrating the holiday. And like I said, I don't think she has to work, being that it is a holiday, so she should have the day off. I am just going to get her to come on in here into the living room. We're going to do a little bit of a workout. So after she cleans up a little bit, I'm just going to have her come on in here and do a dance video. And she's going to get a little bit of exercise in. And she's going to throw her back out. Oh, the poor thing. She's like, oh my gosh, I haven't done a dance workout in so long. I'm really not as young as I used to be. And honestly, that is kind of true. She is not as young as she used to be. She is about to age up to an adult. And so that is why I said they really do need to get on having a baby, because she is almost an adult now. And yeah, she's getting older. So she really does need to have a child if they're going to have a child. So we are going to go ahead and we are going to let her do this dance workout. And he is just getting a little bit more writing in. He is trying to get another book pumped out, which is fantastic. And they are then going to celebrate a little bit of New Year's stuff, maybe make it a little bit of a resolution, and we love that for them. And hopefully they will be able to do some New Year's things, like I think they'll be able to, like, I don't remember what all they can do for New Year's, sing, and I'm not sure. We'll just have to see. But they are just spending a little bit of time together, which is fantastic. She's just asking him how his book's going, and he's like, it's going really well. And she's like, are you feeling really, really motivated? And he's like, I am. I really am. And she's like, what are you writing? And he's like, it's a children's book. And she's like, you're feeling really motivated to write a children's book? He's like, look, at the end of the day, I have baby fever right now, and all I really can think about is kids. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, do you want to go over here and try for a baby? And she's like, yeah. So they're going to go in here and try for a baby once more. They're super cute. But yeah, he's got baby fever right now, and he desperately wants to have a child with her. And we absolutely love that he has baby fever. But he does. He wants a baby so bad. And so, yeah, they keep trying. And, you know, she's told him that she had a negative pregnancy test, and he was really upset about that. So he's like, it's fine. We'll just keep trying. And she's like, okay. So that's what they're doing. They are definitely keeping on trying. So they are just trying for that baby. She's going to come on in here after she goes outside and deals with her plant. She's going to go in there and she's going to try to take another pregnancy test. We're going to see if that was successful. And he is a little bit burnt out on the writing for right now, so we are not going to have him write anymore for now. I think I'm going to maybe see about getting him to do a little bit of, what is she doing? She's like, I want to go out here and work on the computer a little bit since he's not on the computer. It has been so long since I've been on my computer now that we're sharing it. And I haven't had any time to get any work done, like as far as studying or anything. But now she's practicing singing, and I'm just going to have her go ahead and make a resolution. We're going to see if she can raise a skill, I believe. And then I'm also going to get Micah to make a resolution, and I want him to finish a book. So we'll get his resolution set as finishing a book. And they're both just going to sing a little bit for New Year's here and practice that. That will hopefully meet something on their New Year's list here, which is fantastic. And then I'm going to send her in there, and she's going to take a pregnancy test. And they are just having super fun on this New Year's, which is so cute. Right, so Amina has gone ahead and made her resolution, and she is just celebrating her New Year's here, which is fantastic. We love that for her. He is still just singing away. Okay, you can stop singing now. You really can. I love it. I do, but I'm done with that. All right, so they are just enjoying their New Year's. I am going to, though, just have them go ahead and spend a little bit of time chatting with one another. I'm just going to have him be a little bit frisky with her, and then they are going to have a little bit of a chat about the day, and she's going to ask him, like, do you have any plans for the day? And he's going to say, I do, actually. And she's going to say, what? And he's like, I can't tell you, it's a surprise. What do you mean you can't tell me it's a surprise? I can't tell you what my plans are for the day because it's a surprise. But I do have plans, but they're not until later on. And she's like, okay, well, do they involve me? And he's like, yeah, they do. I have a plan this afternoon, later this evening, actually, and they involve you, and it's a surprise for you. And she's like, oh, well, here, I have this for you. It's a surprise for you. And he's like, where'd you get that? And she's like, I got them for you. And he's like, oh, well, thank you. And she's like, you're very welcome. And he's like, anyway, I have a surprise for you later this evening, and it's going to be great. And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, well, you always do everything for us, and you're always so forward usually, but I've made plans this evening, this time, and it's a surprise. I don't want you to ruin the surprise, so I'm not going to tell you anything, and you can't get it out of me. And she's like, okay. So they are just going to go ahead and continue on. She's watching a little bit of TV. He is just playing on the computer here a little bit. And I just want to look and see what time is the festival, and then we will know what time we have to go. It looks like the festival's at 5 o'clock, so that's perfect. And we will go ahead and plan for that. And she's like, well, what are we going to do for the rest of the time until your plans? And he's like, oh, I don't really know. We'll probably just hang out around here. And she's like, Kale, I think I'm going to go out for a jog if that's okay with you. And he's like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. And she's like, okay, that's wonderful. So she's going to go ahead and go out for a jog. And he's like, I think maybe I might go out for a jog too. And she's like, oh, and he's like, yeah, sometimes I like to go out for a jog. And she's like, okay. So they're going to both go out for a little bit of a jog and get a little bit of exercise in. So we are going to just send them out for a jog. That way they can get themselves just a little bit of exercise in for the day, which is going to be fantastic. So I'll send her off first, and then we will go ahead and we will send Micah off for his run, and he can get some exercise in as well. So, okay, Micah, you're supposed to be going for a jog. He's like, I want to chat with her. I realized that, but she's no longer around. So now you need to go out for a jog. All right, so he is going to go ahead and go for a little bit of a jog. We're just going to follow him on his jog here. So let's go ahead and go for that jog. Get yourself a little bit of fitness in. Let yourself get a little bit active. It'll be great, and we will love that. Right now he's feeling really inspired, which is fantastic. We love that. So he is just going for his jog here and killing a little bit of time, because they do have some time to kill before he can take her to the romance festival and marry her. So we are just going to go ahead and go finish up this jog, and then he'll head back home, and probably they'll need to go ahead and maybe get something to eat and bathe after they finish their jogs, because I figure they're probably both going to be pretty sweaty and maybe even hungry after this. So we'll let them maybe handle up on their needs. He wants to be active. Okay, great. So we'll let them go back home. Oh, she's finished way before him. All right, so we're back to the house here, and it looks like he is feeling a little bit hungry. We are just going to let him go ahead and get something to eat. It looks like she's also hungry, so we're going to let her get something to eat as well. I knew they were going to be hungry, so we'll make sure they eat. And then, like I said, they do maybe could stand to get a little bit of hygiene in. So we will make sure that they are washed up a little bit before we go. And that way they are nice and clean for their wedding. And so we'll just go ahead and let them eat something here. I am literally going to have to stay like on top of them for them to eat, because it is so hard to get them to eat right now. But we will go ahead and make sure they do eat something. She's feeling super inspired, which is fantastic. All right, he's like, I'm going to grab another plate. Why don't you just eat the one you grabbed already? See what I mean? Oh, I just don't even know why. He's like, oh, I did grab a plate, didn't I? Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I'll put this one up for you. It's fine. She didn't eat her plate either. It's just sitting out here on the table, and she's going to grab another one. Oh, my goodness. The Sims. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Come eat this food, please. He didn't eat his either. Okay. Eventually they will eat. I promise. Please eat your food. Both of you. Eat your food. Have a little bit of conversation. She's like, how'd you enjoy your jog? And he's like, oh, it was great. And she's like, yeah, mine was exhilarating. I had so much fun. He's like, I didn't know you enjoyed fitness so much. And she's like, are you kidding? I love fitness. It's so wonderful. So they are just celebrating New Year's together, which is fantastic. I love to see them together here in this setting and in this dynamic, the way they are so happy living together and in this relationship. It's really great. So they are just finishing up their meal here, and then we will go ahead and make sure that they are getting themselves all cleaned up for their wedding later. They are taking their really, really sweet time, though, eating this meal, because they are struggling to get through it. But they are having a good time together. They are really enjoying one another's company, which I am loving. They are just talking about New Year's and sharing the spirit of New Year's together, which is fantastic. And she's like, I see that you really do like that salmon. And he's like, yeah, I really do. And she's like, I am really thrilled that you like that recipe so much. I'm going to have to save it and make sure that I make it again. And he's like, yeah, you really do need to do that. She's like, that's so great. And he's like, what did you have? And she's like, pumpkin slices. And he's like, ugh. She's like, what? It's a very light snack. It's good for you. And he's like, I guess. So she's going to go ahead and clean up after herself. And then we're going to go ahead and get him to clean up after himself. And then they are going to just take care of some of their needs here. And it looks like she is so much, like, so inspired. And I just love that. But I am going to go ahead and get her to just come in here, use the washroom, and then take herself a little bit of a, oh, she's feeling a little bit dizzy. Oh, I hate that. Okay, maybe she can get herself a glass of water since she's kind of feeling dizzy. I don't want her feeling like ill. And then I want her to take a bath because, again, she does need a bath at some point because she is getting married later and she's the bride. So we definitely want her clean. If he doesn't take one, I'm not so much worried, but I definitely want her to because she's, you know, she's going to be in her nice little gown and everything, and I just want her to be lovely. So I'm just going to get her a glass of water and let her go ahead and drink that. There we go. So once again, he has taken back to writing. He's trying to finish that book. And so he is just working on that because, as we know, that is his New Year's resolution, is to finish the book. And plus, he just wants to finish this book because he's like, I am really trying to get my name out there. And so, you know, he's really trying hard to succeed at this writing. That's what he's trying to do. And she's, of course, very supportive of that. He's reached writing level 3. We love that.
Bonkusha, Befala for Doy, Wixona Zarspa.
All right, so while he's writing, I am just going to go ahead and let her go and take a bath. She's like, I'm going to go have a bath, honey, while you're writing. And he's like, okay, love. So she's going to go have herself her bath and get herself all cleaned up. And he's like, yes, that's great. She's getting clean. That's wonderful. And then, of course, her brother stops by. And he's like, oh, no, not Colton. We have plans. He can't come over. We have plans. But she's going to obviously let her brother in because she has no idea what her plans are. And so she doesn't realize that, you know, they have like a timeline and a deadline of time to meet. And he's like, oh, my gosh, he's going to totally ruin everything. So she invites Colton in and she's like, come on in. She's going to have a little conversation with her brother, and they're going to just have a little family talk. She's going to obviously give him a key to the house and just be like, here, take a key, and that way you can visit whenever you want, and you don't have to, like, you know, whatever, wait for us to, like, let you in or whatever. Here, just make yourself at home. And he's like, oh, thanks, sis. She's like, yeah, sure. So they're having a nice family discussion and a big family chat and a deep conversation here, her and her brother. And he's like, I was just wondering when the big day was. And she's like, you know, we haven't really set a date yet. We're still trying to decide that. And he's like, oh, well, I was just, you know, curious because I didn't know if you know, had any big plans on when it was, because, you know, Dad still hasn't really come around to the idea. And she's like, yeah, no, I kind of figured. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if he ever is going to come around to the idea. And she's like, yeah, no, I kind of figured. And so she's like, we haven't come up to a realization of a date yet, and I don't know, we haven't really discussed it. I'm sure we will discuss it at some point, but we haven't really made up our minds on when that's going to happen yet. But I'm sure if we decide something, we'll let you guys know, and whatever. She's like, if Dad even cares to know. She's like, it is what it is. But they are obviously celebrating New Year's here with him, and she's like, I really hate to rush out on you, but, you know, I think we have somewhere we're supposed to be. And he's like, oh, okay. So they're going to go ahead and leave. And Micah's like, yeah, we have to go. So as you can see, we've made it here to the romance festival. She is in her gown, and he's like, okay, honey, we've arrived, and this is where I want to bring you. I want us to go ahead and say our vows and get married. And she's like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, oh my gosh, Micah, this is amazing. And he's like, I just think that you and I need to go ahead and exchange our vows and become husband and wife. I think that we need to start our lives together, and I know that your dad doesn't approve. I realize that you probably want your family here, but I am just ready to start my life with you, and I think this is a gorgeous venue. I think that it looks lovely just like you do, and I just want you to know that I'm going to honor and protect you for all the days of your life, and I can't wait to spend my life with you. And she's like, I do. And he's like, I do as well. And then they kiss, and they are Mr. and Mrs. McKnight. Oh, they are so cute. And they are married, and then instantly fireworks went off. Oh my gosh, she's really dizzy. Oh my goodness. So she's going to go over, and she is going to just give him a little bit of a kiss. And she is going to love on him a little bit. And she's like, I can't believe you surprised me with this. This was amazing. She's like, you are amazing. And he's like, no, you're amazing. And she's like, oh, Micah, you are everything I ever dreamed of. And he's like, oh, honey. And she's like, no, honestly, you are everything I ever dreamed of. She's like, you are my perfect man. And she's like, I love you so much. And look how beautiful it is with the lights on. Oh my goodness. Look at her. She grabs him for a passionate kiss. Okay, we don't have time for you right now, Colton. Just calm down. And she's like, do you want to go get some security? And he's like, sure, honey, we can go do that. So she's going to run over and get some security. And then she sees the old lady over there, you know, the lady with all the wisdom, the love wisdom. And she's like, oh my gosh, I have to ask her about our current relationship, because she's just like, I just need to know what she has to say about it. And so she's going to go ahead, and she's going to go over there to the lady with all of the love wisdom. And she's going to say to her, can you please tell me about my current relationship and let me know what it is about my current relationship, like what I need to know about it. And so this lady is like going to tell her this big long tale about her relationship and what she needs to know. She's telling her this big long story about love. And then she says, your relationship is a match made to test the ages. Oh my goodness. Or a match made to last the ages. I mean, wow. And of course, Amina is thinking, of course it is. I totally knew that about him because he's perfect for me. And he comes over and he just gives her this really shy kiss. And she's like, oh, could he not be any cuter than that? And he's like, honey, do you think maybe we could go home and spend some time together? And she's like, what are you saying, honey? And he's like, I'm saying that I want to go home and spend some time with my wife. And she's like, I think maybe that could be arranged. And he's like, okay, because I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I really have baby fever. And she's like, you might have mentioned it a time, maybe two. And he's like, okay, I'm going to have a little bit of the security because I told you I'd have some. And then you and I, we're going to head on home and we're going to go have some time as husband and wife. And she's like, oh, I cannot get used to that word, but I really like the sound of it. So they're going to head on home. So we have made it back home now. And as you can see, she is standing here. They're both feeling really, really flirty from the evening. They've gotten married. They have drank that security. They've gotten the blessing of a wise old woman and her loves, whatever you call it. And she's thinking, tonight was amazing. And he's like, okay, it's time. It's time for us to consummate our marriage. And she's like, consummate our marriage? And he's like, that's what they called it in the olden days. So that's what I'm telling you we're going to do. He's like, but really what we're going to do is, I have baby fever. Let's go try for a baby. And she's like, okay. So there they go at it again, going to try for a baby. And we're going to get her, once they're done, to go on in here into the bathroom. And she is going to go and take herself a pregnancy test to see if she is pregnant. And she's like, please, please be pregnant, because he really wants a baby. And what are the results? Amina is not pregnant. And it says here that she has tried several times, and we should probably get her and her partner's fertility evaluated. So that is what we're going to do in our next episode, along with going ahead and deciding on their moving. So I am going to go ahead and leave this episode off here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when new episodes go live on the channel. And I will see you guys in our next episode of Enamored, where we are going to be seeing a lot of things with Amina in regards to them moving and us trying to figure out what's going on with her fertility or Micah's fertility. And I will see you guys in the next one. And until next time, I'm going to go ahead and fly for now. Bye, Ravens.